Hey everyone, welcome to Screen Crush. I'm Ryan Airy. It's been almost 2 years since a new Game of Thrones episode, and it was well worth the wait. There are so many great things to talk about, like Cersei's love for elephants.
And elephants?
No elephants, Your Grace.
Where's my elephant? Where's my elephant?
Jon's Avatar moment, and John Bradley's extraordinary acting. What was your favorite moment from the opening? Let me know in the comments below. But I want to focus on little details you might have missed. First, let's talk about the near total revamp of the opening titles. In all the previous seasons, the bands of the Astrolabe have told the history of the Seven Kingdoms from before the show started. They began with Aegon's conquest, then Robert's rebellion, where you see the house sigils uniting against the dragon, and then they end with the sigils bowing to the Baratheon stag. Now, however, the first title depicts the ice dragon destroying the wall and the army of the dead marching forward. Then, notice how the opening titles begin north of the wall, showing events from the Night King's point of view as the army of the dead marches south. The white stony tiles turn to blue ice, and they kind of cascade like dominoes, showing the inevitability of the Night King's arrival. Then the other big change is that we see the inside of the castles in the opening credits, and this makes sense because everyone is consolidated into just 2 or 3 locations now. After a tour through Winterfell, we see the next change to the Astrolabe, depicting the Red Wedding. You can see the lion with a fish in its mouth, and that represents the Lannisters conquering River Run. That's the castle that was occupied by the Tullys, whose sigil is a fish. In the middle, you see a wolf hung from the twins, representing the Freys betraying the Starks. And finally, the flayed man, the symbol of House Bolton, holding a wolf's head. Then we get a look at King's Landing. Note the map room that Cersei commissioned in Season 7, including a location that's not in the episode, the crypts, where Qyburn shot the skull of Balerion with his ballista, which is called the Scorpion. Just kind of reminding us that it's there, and even if the dragons survive against the dead, they're not going to be invincible.
They can be wounded, they can be killed.
And the final Astrolabe depicts the last scene of Season 1 and the beginning of Season 2. A herd of horses, representing the Dothraki, bowing to the feet of 4 dragons, representing Daenerys and her 3 children. Notice, too, the comet in the sky, which appeared all throughout the first episode of Season 2. And different characters interpreted the comet in different ways.
The stable boys say it's the color of blood. Mark the death of your father.
But the consensus is that it's a sign of Azor Ahai. This is an old prophecy that's been mentioned several times in the show. Essentially, it means a person who will bring an end to the long night, which probably means the person who will kill all the ice zombies. There's a lot of theories about who Azor Ahai is. Is it Jon? Is it Dany? Is it both? Is it the Kingslayer? Let me know who you think it could be in the comments below. Next, there are a lot of strong parallels to the pilot of Season 1, when King Robert Baratheon and the Lannisters first arrived in Winterfell. First, the score is the same. The track is called King's Arrival, which in the pilot referred to Robert, but here refers to Daenerys and in many ways Jon/Aegon Targaryen, the 6th of his name. In the pilot, Arya clambers up to the top of a wagon to see the king's entourage, but in this episode, she steps aside so a little boy from the north can climb a tree and look for himself. And by the way, what a great piece of acting from Maisie Williams, where we see her reactions range from happiness to joy to scorn, and finally, when she sees the dragons, awe. When Sansa meets Daenerys, she coolly tells her,
Winterfell is yours, Your Grace.
once again echoing a moment from the pilot.
Winterfell is yours.
Next, let's talk about Bronn's Menage a Four-Way, which, believe it or not, has a lot of small details you might have missed. First, it could be a callback to Tyrion's romp in a northern brothel in the pilot episode. Next, one of the prostitutes mentions a ginger soldier named Eddie whose eyelids were burned off. This is probably a tongue-in-cheek reference to Ed Sheeran's much maligned cameo in the Game of Thrones opener last year. R.I.P. Eddie. Next, the crossbow Qyburn gives Bronn to kill Tyrion and Jaime is the same weapon that Tyrion used to kill his father Tywin while the old man was pooping. And finally, it's interesting that Qyburn, not Cersei, delivered the weapon. Off camera, stars Lena Headey and Jerome Flynn used to date, but rumor has it their breakup was so sour that the stars have it in their contracts that they can never share a scene together. Arya gets most of the reunions in this episode, with Jon, the Hound, and Gendry. She gives Gendry a design for a weapon that's a little hard to make out. To us, it looks like a dragonglass modification to a staff, similar to what she used to fight the Waif. But tell us what you think this might be in the comments below. Then after Jon and Daenerys fly their dragons together, they go to a secluded place to make out in front of their pets. Daenerys' words,
We could stay 1,000 years.
echo Ygritte's when she took Jon's virginity in the cave.
Let's stay here a while longer.
Now let's talk about the big emotional reveal of Jon's parentage in the crypts of Winterfell.
You are Aegon Targaryen, true heir to the Iron Throne.
Notice John is in the crypt to visit Ned's statue. He holds a lot of reverence for Ned and is constantly trying to live up to his name. But as he walks away, he stands in front of Lyanna's statue. But notice in this scene that she stays out of focus because for John, this whole truth is unclear and he's suddenly unsure of his own past and who he is. Then there's another callback to the pilot when Tormund, Beric, and some members of the Night's Watch find the Night King's arts and crafts project at Last Hearth. But of course, the spiral looks very familiar to Game of Thrones fans. We first see a White Walker design made from dead bodies in the series opener. But the spiral is what continues to appear throughout the show. We first saw it as a pattern made from horse heads, but it has significance for the Children of the Forest as well. It appeared in the caves beneath Dragonstone and in an important flashback. When the children created the Night King, the pattern appeared around the Heart Tree. There's a lot of theories about this spiral, and I'd like to hear your thoughts. Are the White Walkers mocking the children? Does the symbol somehow allow them to travel further south? Or does the symbol itself carry magical properties? Let me know your theories in the comments below. And finally, we get that humdinger of a cliffhanger when Jaime arrives in Winterfell and sees Bran. This, of course, calls back to the pilot.
The things I do for love.
But also to a moment earlier in the episode when Bran says,
Waiting for an old friend.
we think he means Sam, when in fact the whole time he was waiting for Jaime. But what did you guys think of the opener? I am stoked for this season. We're going to be doing these recaps the day after every episode, time permitting. And if you're new here, hey, please subscribe. For Screen Crush, I'm Ryan Airy.